evening, everyone. My name is Louis Singletera, and I'm the co-founder of the Borscht Belt Historical Marker Project. I want to welcome you all to our first market dedication for the town of Monticello. Myself, Marissa Scheinfeld, Isaac Jeffries, and Kelly Huggins have had the privilege and pleasure of designing and planning historical markers to commemorate the history of the Borscht Belt region and the Catskill Mountains. We want to give a special thank you to Jerry Klinger and the Jewish American Society for Historic Preservation. Their generous efforts have enabled us to exist and create our markers. Jerry is with us today in spirit, as he is currently in Florida. I am a recent graduate of Colorado State University and studied interior architecture design and historical preservation. I have been passionate about the history of the Borscht Belt since I was 10 years old. I was initially drawn to the abandoned ruins of the glorious resorts and have been engulfed in the history and architecture and culture of this fabulous era. I'm so honored and thrilled to be a part of this amazing project and excited to finally leave a much needed mark on these important communities that served as legacies to the important history of the Borscht Belt. So, without further ado, I'd like to present our first marker for the town of Monticello, New York. Please direct your attention to my left to Isaac Jeffries, who will now unveil our marker. Thank you, Isaac.
Both sides.
I'm going to take a minute and read the text on both sides of our marker.
It's okay, Louis, you got it.
Here we go. Our future markers would be double-sided and have the following synopsis of the Borscht Belt and the history of each town. So on our side facing us reads, from the 1920s through the early 1970s, the Borscht Belt was the premier summer resort destination for hundreds of thousands of predominantly East Coast American Jews. The exclusion and 1,000 rooming houses in Sullivan County and parts of Ulster County. The Borscht Belt provided a sense of community for working and vacationing Jews. The era exerted a strong influence on the American culture, particularly in the realm of entertainment, music, and sports. Some of the most well-known and influential people of the 20th century worked and vacationed in the area. Beginning around 1960, the Borscht Belt began a gradual demise due to many factors, including the growth of suburbia, inexpensive airfare, and generational changes. On the other side, our marker dedicated to Monticello reads, during the heyday of the Borscht Belt, Monticello had around 65 hotels and 133 bungalow colonies. Kutcher's Country Club was known for its sports and entertainment scene. It hosted Muhammad Ali, while additional boxers trained at other hotels. Wilt Chamberlain worked as a bellhop while playing on the hotel's basketball team before rising to the NBA fame. Kutcher's also presented famous entertainers on stage, such as Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Jerry Seinfeld, Billy Crystal, and Joan Rivers. Kutcher's was the longest running resort in Borscht Belt, closing in 2013. The Laurels Hotel and Country Club was for a time the largest hotel in Sullivan County. It was a popular spot for singles and held the world's record for the largest swimming pool. The hotel was operated by the Novak family, who also built the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami. Other notable Monticello destinations were the Esther Manor, Lou Winter's Bungalow Colony, and Ideal Bungalow Colony, and the Delano Hotel. Delano, excuse me. We are so honored to be in the presence of 4 distinguished guest speakers joining us to dedicate this Monticello marker. Lynn Skolnick, Board President Emeritus of the Ethelbert B. Crawford Library. Elaine Gunther, Assemblywoman of the State of New York. John Conway, Sullivan County historian and noted author. Zach Kutcher, grandson of Helen and Milton Kutcher and son of Mark Kutcher. And my friend and founder of the project, Marissa Scheinfeld. Please give our speakers a round of applause. Now, please give your attention to Lynn Skolnick.
Before I begin, I have a little costume to put on. I thought it would be and it is cold, you know, so I'm properly dressed. Hopefully. Welcome everybody. I am delighted to see so many folks here for the unveiling of the first Borscht Belt Historical Marker Project. My name, who has told you, is Lynn Skolnick, and I was a member of the Ethelbert B. Crawford Public Library Board of Trustees when Marissa Scheinfeld first brought us the idea of locating a marker here. Maureen O'Mara, present president of the board, kindly allowed me to speak. I guess you could say this is definitely my last official act. And why here at the library, you ask? In a recent Facebook post by RCLS, Ramapo Catskill Library System, I discovered that April 30th to May 6th was the Preservation Week, and the post that went with that announcement said the following: preservation is an opportunity to inspire action to preserve collections in libraries, archives, and museums, but especially the items held and loved by individuals, families, and communities. So there is no better place for this marker to be located than here at Ethelbert B. Crawford Public Library, where we have been preserving things for about 90 years. People often ask me what my connection is to this area, and I realize, having been here only 55 years, I'm still considered a newcomer. I understand that. But like so many people here, I have my own story of how the Borscht Belt brewed romance for me. I met my husband while we were both waiting tables at the Raleigh Hotel. We shared a half-spring chicken. He ate the white meat, and I ate the dark meat, and neither one of us ate that stupid spiced apple ring that garnished the plate. We knew instantly that we were compatible. And I am sure that I'm not the only one here today who has a story of romance. Robert Browning, in his poem about the painter Andrea del Sarto, said, "Ah, but a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for?" And lucky for us, a young woman named Marissa Scheinfeld had a vision of preserving the Borscht Belt history and using it as a spearhead to reinvent tourism in the area, and she carried it through. And she would tell you that she had her dream team that Louis mentioned, but my work was with Marissa. Her tenacity, caring, and willingness to knock on doors, follow through on everything she promised, is why we are here today. Let's have a round of applause for Marissa. And what happened to Louis? Louis, thank you very much as well.
Yeah, Lynn.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Now, please help us welcome Elaine Gunther, Assemblywoman of the State of New York.
The 100th woman to be elected to the New York State Assembly, and also I represent the 100th, the best district in the world. So today I stand before you to shed light on the cherished chapter in the history of the Catskill, the legendary Borscht Belt. These iconic establishments once thrived amidst the serene beauty of the Catskill Mountains, shaping not only the region's economy, but also its culture. As we reflect upon the past, it is vital that we recognize the enduring impact of the Borscht Belt hotels and the importance of preserving their memory. In the mid-20th century, the Catskills emerged as a hub of leisure and entertainment, drawing visitors from far and wide. The Borscht Belt Hotel, aptly named after the traditional East European soup, became synonymous with the golden era. These establishments were more than mere accommodations. They were vibrant culture epicenters that pulsated with life and laughter. These hotels were the birthplace of unforgettable experiences. Legendary comedians honed their craft within their hollow halls, delivering punchlines that would resonate for generations. Talented musicians serenaded enthralled audiences. The Borscht Belt Hotel nurtured creativity and laughter, providing a stage for dreams to flourish. They transformed sleepy towns into bustling centers of tourism, employing countless locals and stimulating business growth. As visitors flocked to their doors, the surrounding communities thrived, and the Catskills became a thriving economic force. It is our duty to recognize their role in shaping the history and the economy of the Catskills. By preserving their memory, we pay homage to generations of entertainers who graced their stages, the workers who toiled behind the scenes, and the communities that flourished because of them. Moreover, the lesson embedded within legacies of the Borscht Belt Hotel endured. They remind us of the power of unity and laughter, of the magic that can be conjured when diverse cultures come together. Recognizing the impact of the Borscht Belt hotels today means not only celebrating a bygone era, but also finding inspiration for the present and also the future. It reminds us that even in times of uncertainty, we can create spaces that foster joy, bring people together, and invigorate local communities. As we move forward, let us honor the legacy of the Borscht Belt hotels. Let us preserve their memory. Let's share their stories and celebrate the profound impact they had on the history and the economy of our Catskills. By doing so, we ensure that the spirit of the Borscht Belt lives on, inspiring future generations, which it has, to embrace laughter, creativity, and transformative powers of community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please welcome to the podium Sullivan County historian and noted author, John Conway.
I don't know about noted author, but thank you, Lewis. Windy day, so I'm going to go without notes so I don't have to juggle them. Borscht Belt. Either love it or you hate it. For decades, hotel owners and publicity hacks tried to escape from that nickname for the area. And yet today it survives. And I have to tell you, over the last probably 6 months to a year, my phone and my emails are lit up by inquiries from newspapers, magazines around the country, really around the world, documentary makers, TV show producers who want to know about the Borscht Belt. I don't know if it's the mention in the Mrs. Maisel television series or what, but for some reason it's become the hottest thing going. Driving here today, I was reminded of something. One of the events they have planned here today is the viewing of the documentary about Kutcher's a little bit later, which I think you'll really enjoy if you haven't seen it already, and probably if you have seen it. But in the Kutcher's documentary, there's a segment about Wilt Chamberlain. And I don't know how many of you are basketball fans, but if you remember when Wilt broke in, Wilt was always known as Wilt the Stilt. And Wilt hated that nickname. He tried very hard to get people to stop calling him Wilt the Stilt. He preferred the Big Dipper, and yet Wilt the Stilt had a certain cachet. It was appropriate, it snapped. He'll always be Wilt the Stilt. And it occurred to me that that's very much what we saw happening here in the Catskills for so many years, was this attempt to escape the Borscht Belt image. They didn't want to be called the Borscht Belt. And yet, it was far preferable to some of the other names that were used in the early days, the Sour Cream Sierras or the Jewish Alps. Thankfully, neither one of those caught on. The Borscht Belt did, and it survives to this day. And now it's once again the hottest thing going. So I'll leave you with just a thought. As an historian, we always strive for accuracy. And I think that because of the popularity of the term Borscht Belt now and the whole concept, and the fact that more and more people are wanting to write about it and to read about it, to learn about it, it's more important than ever to be accurate about the history of the Borscht Belt. And I think that's why this marker project is put together by Marissa and her team, and I congratulate you, and I thank you for allowing me to be part of that. It's so important. Some of you may be aware that we have a new Borscht Belt Museum in Ellenville, which I think by rights should have been here in Sullivan County, but anybody here connected with the museum? Okay. Okay, so we do have some officials here. It's a great way to preserve the history of our great tourism industry. But I think the challenge will be to remain accurate in depicting that history and not to give in to fanciful stories and other inaccurate depictions that are out there. And this marker project, I think, will be a good way to ensure that everyone is kept honest about what the Borscht Belt was and what it wasn't. My personal opinion is that the Borscht Belt and our golden age, which, by the way, 35 years ago, no one used the term golden age. I made that up. That was something I created with a timeline back in the 1980s that showed the evolution of tourism in the Catskills. It depicted the Silver Age and the Golden Age. And I made a real critical error, as my friend Alan Barish points out to me from time to time, calling it the Golden Age and showing this timeline and how things progress, and we have these transitions, led a lot of people to believe that at some point we're going to have a platinum age, or some other age that exceeds the golden age. If you went silver age, golden age, you must be having a platinum age. I don't know that we're ever going to have a platinum age. The golden age might have been as great as it ever will be. But we will have other ages, and we've proven that. My timeline stopped in 1965, but at the urging of people like Alan Barish and others, I have continued it on, and it does remain very accurate. So golden age, point I wanted to make was the golden age and the Borscht Belt I don't think are the same thing. I think they overlap, but I'll leave you with this. The Borscht Belt is that time period, partly in that transition period between the Silver Age and the Golden Age, when the Jewish immigration into the county was beginning. They were buying these small hotels and enlarging them, largely for other Jewish vacationers. But it wasn't really until all of those restrictions that we had here in the mountains, the no Hebrews accommodated and the dietary laws observed kind of restrictions, it wasn't until those broke down in the 1940s that we really begin to get into our golden age. We don't have the restrictions in the golden age. So the Borscht Belt is really that time period immediately before and maybe at the very beginning of the golden age. And it's a tiny sliver in time and space in Sullivan County's history. but it is the sliver in time and space that connects us to the rest of the world, because that's how so many people out there remember the Catskills, as the Borscht Belt. So once again, I congratulate this project. I look forward to many, many more markers. Thank you all for coming out today, and round of applause for Marissa and her team. I cannot emphasize how important this project is in preserving our history and preserving our accurate history. So thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Next up, we have Zach Kutcher, son of Mark Kutcher and grandson of Helen and Mildred Kutcher.
I'll just hold it. Thank you all for coming. I think this project is pretty amazing. The fact that there's going to be a way, and I think they're planning on 8. How many markers are you planning? 20 markers all throughout the county. And you know, when they asked my father to come here, I'm representing my family. He is in Florida, and
Hold the
easier for
mic
him
close to
there.
your mouth, please. Close, we can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
That's better.
Okay, sorry. So I think it's an amazing project, and you know, when I came here to think about, you know, what was I going to say, it's really, I have a son who's 12 years old, and he really has no idea what anything that transpired here. And through things like this, I think it's really a bridge, especially with having different types of technologies where there's going to be the driving tour, you're going to have QR codes, and other things like that, just a modern way to preserve a legacy. Because when I think about it, you know, and I haven't lived in Sullivan County since 1992, when I went to college, and I never truly came back. But my sister has a house up in White Lake, so I come to the area, and it's from then till now, it's radically different, as everyone can attest to. And I think when you think about like whether you call it the golden age of the Borscht Belt, I was not around for that part. I caught the tail end of some age that was pretty fun. But anyone that I've come across who really, you know, has some connection to the area, what's very striking to me is that it always touches upon a part in their life that they really remember fondly. And no matter what, you know, walk of life the person might come from, just the connection that when you have that piece of your life, and that's something that's really worth preserving. And you know, on behalf of my family, the Kutchers, just thank you for Marissa and team for, you know, working hard to preserve everyone's legacy here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zach. Now, last but not least, please welcome to the stage Marissa Scheinfeld, photographer and founder of the Borscht Belt Historical Marker Project.
When I sat down to write the intro to my book that documented the remains of the Borscht Belt, the following were the words that came to my mind. I grew up in the mountains, or as others called it, the country, as if no other mountains or country existed anyplace else on earth. Driving up Route 17 through those mountains earlier today, I felt that same reflective and magical feeling of being home. Yet the journey here today feels more vibrant and important than ever. Today marks the first historic marker to commemorate the renowned era known as the Borscht Belt, which for about 50 years and for countless numbers of people was truly the center of the world. Born from humble beginnings, the Borscht Belt developed out of the harsh realities of Jews being shut out and excluded from many spaces across America. In a revolutionary act of sorts, the Jewish community decided to create its own space in the Catskills, which has had a long history of being a refuge for many groups of people. Over time, the era flourished into something that can only be described as legendary. It left lasting impressions across American Jewish history, of course, the region at large, including an enormous crossover into American popular culture, entertainment, music, sports, architecture, and design. With the passing of time and the many people who were part of the era, including the deterioration and ultimate disappearance of its physical spaces, there is a signaling of an entire culture that is ultimately departing. The Borscht Belt's profound impact is a topic that deserves to be preserved, and the mission of the Marker Project is to be a conduit for people to discover the era's luminous paths, particularly as the region is experiencing a renaissance. Looking back, in this sense, seems just as important as looking ahead. When I was approached by the Jewish American Society for Historic Preservation and its president, Jerry Klinger, who generously offered to fund an entire marker trail, I knew this was a natural step to take, and I'm honored to be part of it. Because of the Jewish American Society for Historic Preservation, we are standing here today. But any worthwhile effort takes a village, and I could not be prouder to be working on this project alongside a group of passionate, knowledgeable, dedicated, and talented individuals that include my friends Louis Inglaterra, Isaac Jeffries, and Kelly Huggins. In addition, I want to express deep gratitude to Sullivan County historian John Conway, whose books, writings, and openness to discuss the Borscht Belt era has been integral for my own personal and professional endeavors, along with our entire teams. I also want to thank Phil Brown, whose Catskills Institute acts as an additional repository of wealth as we work tirelessly in a way, but joyfully, to research and honor the era. There are the many also who shared immediate support for this project, from the county itself to various organizations behind it, as well as people. In particular, I want to thank Freda Eisenberg, formerly at Sullivan County, and Sullivan Renaissance Denise Frankipane, who got together with me for one of the first brainstorming sessions about what this project could be. I also want to thank Assemblywoman Elaine Gunther and all those in her office, including Rachel Steingart, for their support, Town of Thompson Supervisor Bill Reber, the Highway Department, who installed the marker itself. Special thanks to Lynn, Skolnick, Mary Page Lane Klaus, and the entire Crawford Library for believing in this project and being our first partner. In addition, many thanks for Zach Kutcher for being here today. And last, I want to thank every single person for carving out time to be here. Seeing so many new as well as familiar faces is a testament to the power of the Borscht Belt in bringing people together. This is our first of 20 historic marker dedications. However, our goals extend beyond solely markers. We would like to create not only an entire system, but a self-guided audio driving tour that's going to span the entire region. Today, we are also thrilled to have directors Ian Rosenberg and Caroline Laskow here joining us for our first program. There they are over there. And that's going to be a screening of their film, Welcome to Kutcher's, which will immediately follow the dedication. After the film, Ian and Caroline will be on hand for a Q&A. There's also food inside as well. Please keep an eye out for 2 more marker dedications in mid-August, because I am going to have a baby before that and going to take a little break. But these will be in the town of Fallsburg, specifically in Mountaindale, where there's going to be an exhibit of mine as well as Isaac's work and a curated selection of ephemera by Lewis. And in Liberty, in the hamlet of Swan Lake, there's going to be a lakeside concert. And the dates of those are August 13th and August 20th. In closing, thank you all, and may the Borscht be with you.
Thank you so much, Marissa. And thank you for all of you for coming out today. We hope you spend some time with our marker. All of our markers will have QR codes attached to them. They're little pieces that you can scan up to your phone, and it'll direct us to our website. On our website, we'll have descriptions and longer histories of each marker, and as well as a long list of all the hotels and bungalow colonies that made up each and every town. This list was generously researched by Phil Brown at the Catskills Institute, and we will soon have descriptions of each and every hotel that made up these wonderful towns of the Borscht Belt. So I want to thank you so much and invite you to our screening right after here, and you can go through the door on the left of the library here, or right, excuse me. And I want to thank you so much for coming out.